All right, and welcome back to Whiteboard Gematria. I'm your host, Dallas, and let's get to it. Nothing is so permanent as a temporary government program. Flattening the curve may be the world's best way to slow. However, 2 weeks to flatten the curve turned into 52 and counting. By 2030, the IA aims to reduce by 50% the number of children missing out on all 90% coverage for essential given to childhood and adolescence, and to introduce 500 new to low and middle income countries. IA 2030 IA. Remember that. Washington State hires isolation and quarantine strike team consultants. These positions will staff state isolation and quarantine facility and provide for the needs of travelers that stay at the facility. Jobs, according to near Washington, USA, right off the USA Job Board, is isolation and quarantine strike team consultants. Pretty interesting. It's also interesting that, as stated in the government's proclamation, that all employees engaging in work for the Department of Health are required to be fully suited up against COVID-19 on or before October 18th. Proof of vaccination, of course, will be verified by the Office of Human Resources, but October 18th, 118, very interesting timeline for a quarantine strike team. Decent paycheck, too, $3,300 and $4,200, so between $3,300 and $42,000. Interesting stuff. Oh yeah, it's also interesting that it's a continuous ongoing basis of hiring. Washington State, interestingly enough, did edit this to now say isolation and quarantine team consultants as opposed to the isolation and quarantine strike team. So it's pretty interesting how the strike team got removed from the ad campaign. Washington State hires isolation and quarantine strike team. Strike team. IA 2030. Call of Duty Modern Warfare. The new war. Castovia is a fictional country featured in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. It is a country located in the Caucasus region, bordered on by the Russian Federation to the north and Georgia to the west. Interesting, Georgia, right? On March 3rd, 2020, the terrorist organization AI invaded Castovia and launched a full-scale assault. A new alliance, Armistice, was formed to stop AI. After Armistice was formed, a massive cloud of toxic gas was released. In the chaos that ensued, members of the Armistice began fighting amongst themselves, and then thusly began an investigation of the situation, resulting in Task Force 141. On March 3rd, 2020, against the AI. So it's just interesting, folks? We have IA 2030, the immunization agenda as put forth by the World Health Organization. We get the modern warfare. We get the strike team. What's also interesting as we go on with this, we see that it was March 3rd, 2020, that this task force 141, which is interesting because 811 is the 141st prime. You know, we have to have all your stuff in order by October 18th for this strike force. Very interesting, right? Good old Mike Pence with their no handshakes. What's that in your hands, bub? The vice presidents, the House, the COVID-19 task force. dated March 3rd, 2020. March 3rd, 2020. Task Force 141 against the AI. That's just unbelievable. And of course, March 3rd was the three that left 303 days in the year. Of course, this was all going on in the fictional state of Castovia. We've seen the symbol before. Castovia, House of Flanders, whichever you prefer. So we have Castovia showing off modern warfare, within which this modern warfare was formed, a massive cloud of toxic gas was released. So a contagion, a chemical warfare attack. Task Force 141, a House of Flanders production. The Washington State Isolation Quarantine Strike Team consultants.
Needed. Continuing to protect the vaccinated. For the vast majority of you who've gotten vaccinated, I understand your anger at those who haven't gotten vaccinated.
Pope Francis urges everyone, for the good of all, you have a moral obligation. Get vaccinated. The pandemic will not end until the world is vaccinated, says Merkel.
I think early next year we'll be in the phase of chasing up people who haven't come forward to get their vaccination or have missed their bookings and so on. So everyone will be able to get a vaccine between now and the end of the year. But of course, and I want every New Zealander to come forward, but human behaviour suggests that there will be some people that we have to actually really go out and look for, and some of that may spill into next year. But our commitment is everyone will have the opportunity to get the vaccine by the end of the year. Everyone will, but I can't say that, that we're not going to have some hesitant people or some people who just haven't come forward that we don't have to go out and find.
I'm going to have to go out and find them. I'm going to go out and hunt them down. I hope most of you, I do think most of you get it. I don't know why there's so much complacency out there. It's absolutely mind-numbing. Because they're setting it up. It's all right in front of us. This is the second time we have seen this whole, right out in the open advertising to fulfill the requirements of running these camps. They're just going to take the people and they want, and those people will never leave. They'll just be victims of COVID. How many people do you know that are sitting there wishing this upon people who are also the people who said in the times of Germany they would never have allowed such atrocities? And the same people who said they never would have let Jesus go, they never would have betrayed Jesus. So this is where we sit in a world where everybody denies Jesus and everybody accepts everything else. Wherever you are, I hope this finds you well. God bless.